You ever have one of those mornings where the whole world seems to stop right at your front yard? That was the day Karen tried to call the cops on what she thought was a bad neighbor blocking her driveway, not realizing she was standing on a street that, legally, every inch of it, down to the last bit of gravel, belonged to me. Wild, right? You'd think this was a sitcom setup, but I swear, the sirens echoing down Maplewood Court that day, my old red pickup glinting in the sun, and well, Karen was about to learn how wrong confidence can be. The air that morning was thick with the smell of fresh-cut grass, the kind that clings to your shoes and makes you think of summer when you were a kid. But then, here comes Karen, and her perfume, if you can call it that, hits you like a wall of fake roses and pure, undiluted authority. She marched down her driveway, clipboard under her arm, phone out, sunglasses on, even though we're standing in the shade, looking for all the world like she just took over the White House. I'm just leaning against my truck, parked neat as you please right in front of my own house, when she comes out swinging. You can't block the street. You're obstructing traffic. The only traffic around here is squirrels and maybe an Amazon van twice a week. Still, she's waving that phone like it's a badge. She's already called the police, she declares, and they'll deal with me. To her, I must have looked like some clueless newcomer, right? She didn't know me. I'd lived here a good while, and frankly, I found the whole thing kind of poetic. The way she strutted around rehearsing her HOA speech to a crowd of neighbors pretending to water their plants, but really just waiting for the drama to pop off. And then, like clockwork, a police car rolled up. Officer Daniels steps out, good guy, maybe in his 40s, with that tired look of someone who's seen way worse than a neighborly spat. Karen flies at him, flapping her arms, talking about the whole street blocked, while Daniels just glances past her at my truck and the empty dead-end street. Ma'am, he says, there's plenty of space. Emergency vehicles could turn around just fine. She's not having it. Insists there are HOA rules against my parking. I smiled, because here's the twist. Maplewood Court doesn't even have an HOA. It used to, sure, but the developer went bankrupt, so the whole street reverted to the parcel owner, me. That's right, the street everyone thought was public? My private property, attached to my deed like a bonus round in Monopoly. So, I reach into my glove box, pull out a copy of the deed, hand it over to Officer Daniels, and watch Karen's face change color like a stoplight. Daniels reads aloud. Parcel includes the entire cul-de-sac. Karen sputters. That's impossible. Nobody owns a street. Daniels just turns the page around. Apparently someone does. And the whole place goes silent. Not the awkward kind. The kind that feels heavy, like everyone's waiting for lightning to strike. But Karen? She wasn't done. She goes straight to denial, waves her hand, calls the deed fake, says, you can't own a public road. Daniel shakes his head, explains it's a private street, that the county can confirm it. She goes quiet. First time I've seen her lost for words. You could practically feel the neighbors recording on their phones, peeking from behind curtains. Some of those folks had been getting fines and warnings from her for months. Turns out, all completely made up. Daniels hands back the deed and tells Karen, unless there's an emergency, there's no violation. She turns to me, fuming. So he can just park wherever he wants. Officer grins. On his own street? I'd say yes. I tuck the deed away, tell her I'll make sure my vehicles never inconvenience her again. She says, good, but I don't think she heard the promise in my tone. It wasn't an apology, it was just the start. That night, I'm sitting on my porch, watching her rearrange her garden gnomes like they're soldiers. She doesn't know that the sidewalk she's standing on, still technically my land. I wasn't angry. I was honestly a little fascinated. Karen wasn't just enforcing order. She wanted control, wanted the world to spin her way. When she couldn't get her way, she tried harder. I pulled out the old property records, just to make sure. Turns out, not only do I own the road, but the storm drain, the curbs, the little grass strips, all of it. I laughed out loud. She had no idea I was sitting on the biggest legal trump card in the neighborhood. Next morning, there she is, sunglasses, clipboard, barking that my truck is blocking traffic visibility. I just point to the brand new no trespassing sign I'd planted by the mailbox. That's public land, she snaps. Nope, I say, sipping my coffee. That's mine. And I walk back inside, leaving her gaping at the sign. From that day, Karen wasn't just my neighbor. She became my rival, my self-appointed villain. It was like a game, except I played with facts and paperwork while she clung to fake rules. Our little war was just getting started. Within a week, I find a bright orange violation notice taped to my door, $100 fine, payable to Maplewood HOA. I nearly dropped my keys laughing. I checked the county records. There's no such association. She just made it up. That's when I got serious, set up cameras, logged every note and encounter. If she wanted to play games, I'd make sure every move was documented. Her next moves got weirder, measuring property lines, scolding the mailman, yelling at skateboarders. One morning, she even tried to tow my truck, but the driver just looked at my deed and drove off. By then, neighbors started talking, told me Karen had been making their lives hell, too. One woman whispered she'd gotten a fine for a bird feeder. Another stopped inviting friends over because Karen would time their visits. Wasn't just about me anymore. It was about the whole street being held hostage by her fantasy of power. One night, I caught her on camera, tearing down my private road sign. So, I printed a still frame, left it on her porch with a note about penalty under county law. She was livid, yelling on her phone, but the next city inspector to come by just confirmed everything was mine. But Karen never quits. Her next big stunt? She painted a thick white line across the street, no parking stenciled in bold. I snapped photos, sent them to the county. By Monday, a code enforcement officer was explaining that vandalizing private property is a real crime. After that, neighbors stopped hiding. They started waving, chatting, enjoying the quiet. Even Karen's husband apologized one morning, said, "I can't stop her." I told him, "You shouldn't have to." But I'll say this, Karen never really surrendered. Even when the police, the county, and half the block were against her, she just doubled down. Called the news, held community meetings, tried to organize a petition. I'd just show up, calm as you please, with paperwork in hand, and let her dig her own hole. The best part? When the sheriff himself showed up and told the crowd, "Records show the street belongs to Mr. Brooks." That silence, you could hear the birds chirp. Karen tried everything, drones, anonymous letters, flyers, each time pushing herself further from reality and closer to a full-blown punchline. But the real twist? One morning, she came to me with an envelope. "It's an apology," she said, her eyes tired for once. Inside, a note. "Rules don't make a community. People do. I'm sorry." I sat with that for a long time, wondering if she meant it, or if it was just her way of starting the next round. Life on Maplewood got better. The laughter came back. The street felt safe again. Even when Karen left, for a while, anyway, her ghost lingered in the new caution with which people greeted control and power. She returned once or twice, tried again to claim a piece of the old order, but the neighbors had learned. And so had I. Some nights, I still think about her. Wonder if she's out there, trying to run another block somewhere else, or if she's learned that peace isn't about control, it's about respect. The street's quiet now, the battles are done. I'm left with a folder full of deeds, fake fines, apology notes, and a lesson that's bigger than either of us. You can't own peace by force. You have to build it, one boundary at a time. So, let me throw this out to you. What would you have done in my shoes? Ever had a neighbor like Karen? Drop your story down below. Tell me where you're watching from. And let's talk about what justice really means in a neighborhood war. And hey, don't forget to subscribe for more stories where standing your ground means more than just owning a piece of paper.